Fishful Thinker Television, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. HPZ Workstations, performance, innovation, and reliability with game-changing design and cutting-edge technologies. Coldwell Banker, every day until it's sold. St. Croix Rod, handcrafting fishing rods for over 60 years. Evinrude, spend more time on the water.
Hello and welcome to Fishful Thinker. I'm Chad LaChance and I'm standing in a beautiful spot here in northern Colorado. Welcome to approximately 10,500 feet. We've got a really unique show today. We're going to be talking about greenback cutthroat trout. And what we're going to do is visit a couple of high mountain fisheries and give you kind of a taste of what some of these greenbacks are all about, with their color, their environment that they live in, beautiful settings like this that they live in, talk a little bit about water quality and a little bit about the importance of the greenback cutthroat trout. It's the state fish in Colorado. It seems appropriate that it's found in places like this. Colorado, of course, known for its trout and specifically for its mountains, and here's a beautiful setting. So sit back and get comfortable. We're going to visit a few of the most beautiful places you've ever seen to fish. Should be a great show. Now, most of the show today, we're going to be using very light spinning tackle, ultralight spinning tackle, 2-pound test, and tiny little jigs, little tiny spinners, maybe little crappie jigs, little tiny spoons. We're going to try to show you some ways to catch trout like this without the fly rod. There's been lots of shows done about fly fishing for these trout, and it's probably the most effective way to catch them, but it's certainly not the only way to catch them. And these high mountain lakes, most of the high mountain cutthroat lakes like this are strictly flies and lures only, and certainly we're going to stick with that, whether we would use unscented plastics or whatever. The other thing is their catch and release. We will be very careful about any fish we catch, try to get them back in the water real carefully. The Colorado Division of Wildlife has put a lot of effort into salvaging the greenback cutthroat. There's been some arguments about the genetics involved. There are several species of cutthroat trout, it's thought to be believed, and the greenback cutthroat is the big name one, let's just say. And Division of Wildlife has put a lot of effort into salvaging that species. They need very clear water, they need very pristine environments to survive. They don't do well with competition from brook trout or rainbow trout. So because of that, there's very few places where the greenback have really thrived. Here at Lake Zimmerman, on the top of Cameron Pass, this entire lake was poisoned out in the 90s, and then it was stocked with just strictly greenback cutthroat. And the Division of Wildlife uses this lake to harvest eggs so that they can stock cutthroats in other areas. So definitely not a place where you want to come and catch fish to eat. Certainly not a place that you would come and bait fish or anything like that. In several of the locales you're going to see on today's show, including Lake Zimmerman and also up at Lake Agnes, the environments are very much natural type environments. If you are going to come to a lake like this, you need to tread lightly, you need to pack out your trash, you need to be responsible if you're going to come up to lakes like this. These are little gems, let's just say, of the woods. They're not the kind of place that can take very much pressure or very much abuse. So that's why we encourage you, if you are going to go visit high mountain lakes, whether it be here in Montana or Wyoming or wherever you can see us from, we definitely would encourage you to tread very lightly and go easy on the resource. So I'm working this little crappie jig. It seems to be our best bet for getting bites from high mountain lake fish on the spinning rod. And like I keep saying, we've got it on a barbless jig. This one is a 1/16 of an ounce, and it's just a little white marabou jig. And it's really designed, like I keep saying, for catching crappies. And I've got it barbless, and I've got it on the 2-pound test. And it's 2-pound test Fireline Crystal, which is a little super line. It's 2-pound test, it's so thin, it's unbelievable, and it's a lot of fun to fish with on the little ultralight St. Croix. You can feel everything with this line. This line is very sensitive. And what I'm doing with the jig, as with all the times you see us working jigs here on Fishful Thinker, is I'll hop that jig or I'll swim it, but rarely is this bait sitting on the bottom, particularly if there's trout involved. The bait is working through the middle of the water column. There's no flash on it, there's no shine on it, there's nothing to really spook the fish in this really clear water. And that's the thing. You know, a lot of guys want to throw spinners and spoons, and I'm just not sure in this real clear water that that's always the best plan. It's just, that's a lot of vibration and a lot of flash. And sometimes in a real quiet environment like this, that's too much. But a little crappie jig, now you're talking. And I'll tell you what, those greenback cutthroats are seriously pretty fish. Working the little crappie jig up here, working these greenbacks, and I have hooked a big old giant greenback. This is a big old fish. I got him on 2-pound test, and I got that little tiny marabou crappie jig that no one thinks of as a trout bait, and this is a pretty cutthroat trout right here. Now again, we're gonna be real careful with these because we don't wanna hurt them, and this is a big old fish. Holy smokes, it's a pretty one right here. And I hope he stays on my 2-pound here. And he's got that little white marabou jig. People don't think of a marabou jig as a good crappie or as a good trout bait, but oh, this is a pretty cutthroat. Okay, now I'm gonna see about gracefully getting him in my net, which is right here. And then we'll get y'all a look at him here. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. Okay. And you can see that is a beautiful greenback. What a gorgeous fish. You see the crappie jig stuck right in the corner of his mouth down there. And again, I don't want to get him out of the water too much. You know, I want to be real nice with him. That's a quality fish right there. So, you know, as with all the cutthroats we've been dealing with, we try to be real nice when this barb is smashed down. Let me see if I can reach him here. And I'll take this jig. Actually, the jig just fell out, so there you go. And I'll show you the jig in a minute, but how about that for a really pretty cutthroat trout? I mean, you can see if he rolls up on his side there, I can get him to roll up and get some color on him. Look at the colors of this thing. That is a pretty fish right there. Now, water's crystal clear. It's glass calm, as you can see here. And in our attempts to bring you as much cutthroat action as we can, we've traded up a few different baits here, and they really just seem to like that little marabou jig. Everywhere we go for cutthroat, they really seem to like that little marabou jig. So that's a pretty trout right there. And you know, we'll let this one go here, but what a pretty fish. We'll see if we can catch you another one here right quick. What a pretty fish. That is the state fish for Colorado. Hang on one second here and we'll get him rolled up. And you can see the colors. We're gonna be quick here. Hold still, buddy. Hold still, buddy. There you go, you can see the color on him now. Get him facing this way and get him to roll on his side there. Look at the colors on this fish. How pretty is that? Whoo, buddy, that's a pretty cutthroat trout. All right, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and let him go. See you, buddy. We'll let him chase himself out of here if you'd like. Maybe. How about that? Now you're gonna see him in that real clear water and he's just gonna roll out of here real pretty. There he goes. If you're gonna spend time in the high country, two of the most important things you can carry is insect repellent and sunscreen. Some of the worst biting bugs in the world live at high altitude, and having some insect repellent of some sort with you can make your day a lot more enjoyable. A DEET-based insect repellent like this will do a great job of keeping bugs away, but make no mistake, DEET does a great job of keeping fish away as well. This is the most repulsive smell to fish that you can possibly get. So don't get it on your lures, but by all means get it all over you to keep the bugs off. Another really important thing is sunscreen of some sort. When you get 8, 9, 10, 11,000 feet in elevation, the sun's rays are very intense. A sunscreen of some sort is as important as the bug spray. If you're gonna spend time in the high country, make sure you're equipped to deal with bugs and sun, or it's gonna be a long day in the hills. So we're at 10,600 feet. Here's the Colorado State flower. That's a columbine right there, growing on the side here of beautiful Lake Agnes on the top of the Cameron Pass. Beautiful, beautiful place. Interestingly enough, we're here fishing for Greenback Cutthroat, which is also the Colorado State fish. So it seems appropriate that the state flower and the state fish would be found in a place like this in Colorado. So this kind of fishing is a little bit more off the beaten path than most people want to do. But sometimes the view is worth it. And what I'm fishing right here is I've got a 32nd ounce jig head and just a little generic nymph looking soft plastic on it, and I have it on 2-pound test fire line. And as you can see, it's a little bit breezy, and so I'm just letting the wind work the bait. Every now and then I just lift on it. Really not fundamentally different than jigging for smallmouth or something. I'm just letting the bait kind of glide around down there. If it gets all the way to the bottom, I'll lift it up again. Real subtle takes. These fish don't live in the most fertile environment in the free world, so they have to eat pretty much whatever gets in their range. So a little jig like this on the super ultralight with 2-pound is fun. So we have made contact. Looks like we got a really pretty fish. I'm gonna see if I can gracefully get him landed here. And all lit up, lots of color, got him on the 2-pound test. See about this here. Hold this rod graceful and get this net off. As you can see, I'm really an expert at catching these little trout with a net. Get the net good and wet, swing him on in here, and we have got him. So put this little St. Croix down. What a perfect little fish. So the beauty of these things, these greenbacks, whether they're pure genetics or whatever, I don't get into any of the controversy. I'm gonna let them go anyway. You can see the fins on that thing, real bright orange. But the environment that you find them is unbeatable. Catching them on a real light tackle, you could probably catch them real good on fly tackle as well. We happen to be here throwing a 2-pound test and spinning gear because I know most of you throw spinning gear. So that's the deal. But let me, we're gonna go ahead and lower this net down and let this guy swim off and out of here. Bring him up here, we can see the top of the net, and there he goes, pretty as you please. Absolutely gin clear water. That's what makes for light presentations and supernatural looking baits. You see him cruising around here, and then he goes headed back out to deep water. What a gorgeous fish. I might have grown up saltwater fishing, but I can work with that. Whew. Now a little crappie, marabou crappie jig like that, really not too god awful far removed from a woolly bugger, which is a really famous trout fly, but you can see that marabou's got a lot of action in the water, and we're just giving it a light swim and hoping to get him to bite it. It's a beautiful little jig. Here he comes, here he comes, here he comes, here he comes. Oh, 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 how heartbreaking is that? I ran out of room. Oh. I ran out of room. 2 beautiful ones just followed it up right here, and I ran out of room. Okay, so I had no more place to work the bait, and as soon as it's not running from them, they won't do anything with it. As soon as it stops, they don't want it. So I'm gonna hop this bait. I'm gonna get real crazy with it, and I'm just gonna try to pop it and snap jig it and see if I can get one to eat it like that. All right, we persevered right here at the end. Now we got that crappie jig. I've been telling you about that crappie jig. I'm just trying to sneak down here. We're gonna keep this fish in the water and off the rocks. And it's a really pretty cutthroat here, and I hope he stays on. We're gonna see, but I got that crappie jig working. All right, come here, fish. We don't wanna get him hurt. Look at the colors on this fish. Come here, fish. Oh, he's gorgeous. What a beautiful fish this is right here, folks. Get the colors on this one. Holy smokes, folks. That's why we persevered all day right here. Is that not a beautiful fish? Now, I don't want to get him out of the water, kind of like the one we caught this morning, but that is a greenback cutthroat trout. Depending on who you believe, it may be a pure strain or not, but either way, that thing is in full spawning colors, and that is a beautiful fish right there. Now, we worked our tails off. My cameraman Tim and I worked our tails off to bring you this picture of this fish. But I'm telling you what, these things are gorgeous. There's a major effort all over the United States, the Western United States, where the cutthroats live, to get them reintroduced. Certainly here in Colorado, there's been a concerted effort, and they're just absolutely gorgeous fish. Again, we'll just dip this one. I'll get my hands wet and give you a quick look at his belly here. And then we're gonna get him out of this net and get him on his way. Let me get a hold of him here, real graceful. Come here, buddy. Make sure he's good. See, he's lively, been in that net, and this water's really cold, believe me. How about that? Does a fish get any prettier colors than that? We get lucky and get this sun to come out, but I want to hold him down in the water. That is a beautiful cutthroat trout. That's why we came up here. That's why we hiked all the way around beautiful Lake Agnes. And look at the colors in the sun. Huh? How about that? All right, buddy, you're free to go. And you are now a TV star. And one of the things about fishing greenbacks, regardless of where we go to get them, they can be finicky. They can be much finickier than you'd think they'd be, given that they don't live in a very productive ecosystem. So we'll change up retrieves a lot. We'll change up baits a lot. If I was fly fishing, I might be changing up flies. There are times when they'll eat whatever gets near them, just like any other fish, but there's a lot of time when they'll get real finicky as well. And I've been humbled more than once on high mountain lakes by some of these trout, and they're so clear, and a lot of times you can see them, and you really think they'd be easy to catch, and a lot of times they're not that easy to catch, believe me. But they're a lot of fun. They're just absolutely gorgeous fish, and the hikes in are always beautiful, and the mountains are always beautiful, and it makes for fun fishing, regardless of if they're easy to catch or not. Sometimes you'll find them on real steep banks or real steep areas. They a lot of times will roam right adjacent to a hard drop-off. If a lake has a shelf or a drop-off, which a lot of the real high mountain lakes have kind of offshore shelves, that can be a really good spot to catch cutthroats. These little marshy areas like this can be really good because they contain a lot of bugs. Sometimes you're in spots so pretty, you gotta take the time. So one of the beauties of coming to these little high mountain lakes like this is sometimes the fish will sit in the tailwater area right here. And so I've got my 2-pound test, I've got my micro little jig, and I can see with my polarized glasses a couple of trout sitting up against the creek right here, up against the bank, in the tailwater of what is effectively the lake we're fishing here. So we're gonna see if we can take advantage of them. Now I'm gonna have to be really sneaky because the water's really clear and really shallow, and we'll see how graceful I can be about catching one of these. Oh. He grabbed it. Okay, there's one just off to the left right here. Got him. Okay, now I don't care what kind of fishing you like to do. That is fun stuff right there. Holy, what a beautiful cutthroat trout I just caught. And we're gonna keep him in the water right down here. And we've got a barbless jig. We'll get him unhooked real quick here. What a beautiful cutthroat. Oh man, look at this trout right here. Now that is your native greenback cutthroat trout. And it's right here in this tailwater. And it's coming right out of the lake right here behind us, and here in Lake Zimmerman. And that's a beautiful, that's probably 14, 15 inch cutthroat right there. And that's a nice looking fish. I just sniped him out of here by sneaking up real quiet and pitching a real tiny little jig in there. And we got him to go. Now we could have caught him easily with a fly rod probably as well, but what a pretty fish. And again, we don't want to take him out of the water much. Let me see if I can give you a quick look at this guy. Look, well, yeah, I don't want to get him out of the water much. Look at the colors on this fish though. I don't know if the cameras will do that thing justice or not, but that is a pretty trout right there. We'll pull him up one time here and see if we can get him over. Get him to lay on his side gently here. Look at this thing. Well, he doesn't want to, so I'm not gonna mess with him too much. We're gonna go ahead and let him go actually. But what a pretty greenback trout that is. We'll let him just swim out of there on his own when he is ready. What a pretty fish. Here you go, buddy.
Get you out of the net there. And you can go about your business, maybe. And we're gonna let him swim out of this net all on his own there real quick. There you go. What a pretty fish. He's obviously not in too much of a hurry to get out of here, but how nice is that? When you look at a greenback cutthroat right there, it's easy to see why that's the state fish. In the environment that you catch them in, this water is clear as glass, and that's a pristine little fish right there. Go on, buddy. How about that? Now this one I think likes me because he's just gonna hang out right here so we can check him out in the current. Now, one of the things about the greenback cutthroat is you can see absolutely crystal clear water. This is the tailwater exit of the lake. We've got a whole bunch of these greenbacks sitting right up against the undercut bank right here, feeding backwards right in the exit of the lake. How nice is that? Now, obviously with a fly rod, these fish would be fun to take a swing at. They know I'm here, no question about that, and they're willing to tolerate it to sit there and see what's going on. So, beautiful specimens, absolutely crystal clear water here in the Colorado Rockies. That's good stuff right there. So that's why you make your hike into the mountains. And I'll tell you, the greenback cutthroat's a unique deal. He lives in the pristine places. Just a gorgeous fish, as you can see from here. So hopefully if you get the opportunity to get out in the high mountains, get out and get some thin air in your lungs, do some hiking, and get in the backcountry and check out some of these beautiful greenback trout. Thanks for watching Fishful Thinker, and we'll see you next week. Boo! Boo! Want to see a bunch of fish scatter? Can you hear my mics? See them going up under the undercut bank over there? How nice is that?